This inspired a lot of other artists to draw the very similar picture based on Leonardo's drawing. We know that Davinci had no way of seeing Christ, so he would have drawn this from his own perspective because it's not based on the scriptures. The scriptures don't give you a physical description. But what I find very interesting is how effeminate Christ looked in these pictures and how the other artists drew the same thing. So let's try to figure out what were the influences of Da Vinci so I can figure out what were you drawing. Here's another picture by Leonardo da Vinci. This is John the Baptist. I'll repeat, this is John the Baptist. Again, he looks very effeminate. You can tell it's John the Baptist because he's wearing camel's hair. But what's throwing me off here is the very effeminate looking face and the long hair. Here's another image of John the Baptist. Again, very effeminate, but you'll notice in both pictures, he has his index finger extended. So in this picture by the Salvator Mundi by Davinci, there's 3 fingers raised for Christ. And then over here, we see 1 finger raised for John the Baptist, both looking very effeminate and both having long hair. Here's another picture. This is Jesus and Mary. Now, the child is a child. This is supposed to be the Christ child. But notice, again, the extended index finger. And just like we saw with John the Baptist, it's extending up the cross. So perhaps Da Vinci had a meaning behind this because he wouldn't paint the same thing over and over and over again if he didn't mean something by it. Here's a totally different artist, Michelangelo. Michelangelo, the sculptor. He made this picture, The Creation of Adam, 1512. And if we notice here, something very similar is going on as we saw with Da Vinci. This index finger is extended and it's reaching out to God. And if you notice, God has a beard. He's a Caucasian male, and he's surrounded by, I guess, cherubim, angels, not sure. But what I find very interesting is this. God is not described in the Bible as a white man with a beard. So where did he get that from? As a matter of fact, I know a lot of people who don't read the Bible, when they think of God, they think of a guy wearing all white with a beard, and it's not coming from the Bible. So where are Michelangelo and Da Vinci getting their ideas from? Because of course, if they're supposed to be painting things that have to do with the Bible, why don't they even follow the details of the Bible? For those of you who know, the Ark of the Covenant described in the book of Exodus, the Ark of the Covenant had a mercy seat with 2 cherubim wrapped around it, and in the center is where you would have the Lord, the presence, and the mercy seat. Well, he was described as fire. He wasn't described as an old man with a beard. You'd only have to read a couple books into the Bible, in the Torah, the first couple books, the 5 books of Moses, to figure that out. So here's something interesting. We have this constant theme of the index finger being extended, and then we have, of course, this famous movie called E.T., because you are being programmed through the media that you watch. That's why you think that God is a white man with a beard. And here we see E.T. phone home with his index finger extended. I love this movie when I was a child. But again, I'm noticing the same pattern that I saw in Da Vinci's work and Michelangelo's work. Michelangelo and Da Vinci were not drawing Christ. They were mystics. They were spiritualists. They were into spirituality, whatever that means. And we can see that in the case of Michelangelo, he did a lot of dissections. He did a lot of autopsies. He actually dug up bodies from a church graveyard. We've studied that. If you didn't know this, there's a video on my channel. You can watch it. It's called Moses Has Horns, and you will learn all about how Michelangelo was dissecting corpses. So when you see this imagery, and you can clearly tell it's a side profile of the brain cut in half. Somehow we're noticing that God, right? He's being equated to what? The human brain. So the mystics had a very different view in regards to who God was. It's almost like God is man himself. Or perhaps God is a very specific type of man. Perhaps it's a man that has an extended consciousness. Perhaps these different practices like meditation, or more specifically, transcendental meditation, could have some kind of an interesting outcome where a person could change from the inside out.